Hey everyone, I'm Emma Mitchell and I'm here with Rebecca Fishkin again. I'm an energy healing guide, and we're going to talk today about overcommitting. What is it? This is the start of a three-part series we're going to do about overcommitting, symptoms, repercussions, and how you can stop yourself from overcommitting. So, Rebecca, I'm going to kick to you like usual to start us off.
Okay, thanks, Emma. I'm Rebecca Fishkin with Clarity and Authenticity Coaching, and I am a life coach, and my focus is on helping people with overwhelm and avoiding burnout. So this fits right in the wheelhouse of because if you keep overcommitting, it can definitely lead to either one of those. So, what exactly does overcommitting look like? I'm gonna my own personal. Let's just talk about the past month for me. I am phasing out of real estate, focusing full time on coaching. And my husband and I decided to sell our house and move. And so trying to balance all of those things, is that overcommitting? In a way, yes. However, it's also short term, right? We know that there's an end to that. And in the midst of all that, I was asked to run a new organization and head up a new chapter of our networking group. And yeah, I could have easily said, oh, sure, because I believe in those programs, and decided that I think I've got enough on my plate. So part of that is self awareness. We don't always have that self awareness because we're excited about these opportunities that are presented to us. So, Emma, do you have any times that you've been this way?
Yes, I was a chronic overcommitter for a long time. And it wasn't until I really started actually meditating and working with my spirit guides, which sounds weird, but they kind of pointed out to me, hey, you are really good at staying busy and doing the things that aren't working for you. So, one of the messages I got actually around this was this symbol of an octopus. And we may have told the story before, but they showed me with tentacles and all these things saying, this is what you're doing to yourself. So pick the things that are perfect for your own life path and get rid of the rest. When I made a list, probably about 75% of those things that I was committed to weren't actually for my life path. They were just something that I signed up for and wondered why I was feeling dragged down. We were talking earlier about funny stories to share. And so the only funny story I could come up with for today was when I was in working in a job. It was like 2019, and I was started going back to school. So it was in this job full time and going back to school taking biology classes, which were 3 hours, 3 nights a week, plus homework, plus tests, plus. And one day I came home, I can't remember, I think I must have been from work. I came home and my window was open to my bedroom apartment. Thank goodness my cat didn't get out. I don't know why she didn't jump out the window, but my dog was in there. The window was wide open. Everything was blowing. My air conditioner was still on, like the unit. And I was like, did somebody break in? Was it a ghost? Like, what the heck happened here? And later on, the next week, I was talking to my therapist and I was telling her the story, and she said, well, Emma, stress can sometimes make you forget things. And I had no idea. I was so overcommitted doing those jobs, trying to spend time with my friends, you know, also trying to do some event planning on the side and go back to school. And I think I just forgot. I think I pulled it out of the window and walked away and just went complete mind blank. But I'll still blame it on ghosts. But I think it was actually overcommitting. So yeah, I think there's a lot of people out there that overcommit. What are some other examples that you want to share about maybe more general for overcommitment?
So let's talk about moms, right? Moms who have full-time jobs and they've got multiple kids that are involved in all kinds of activities. And we do this to help the kids grow and learn teamwork and commitment and all of, there's so many lessons there that's great. And what does that do to your workload? Because then you have to make dinner, you got to go home and make dinner, and you need to, clean the house and manage everything else. And when is it your time? And so it's hard to do that because then you have the weekends and you finally have time to just be with the family and not have to work. And now it's easy to get caught up, and maybe you are committed to church or whatever else your other things that are, as you say, in your wheelhouse, like important to you. And there's all of those things are valid, and we can't do it all, be it all, and have it all. Something's got to give somewhere. And how do we do that?
Well, and I can think of another example of this lady that I worked with a very long time ago, so I doubt she'll be watching this. She was on like 10 different boards. She was on all these committees. She did volunteer stuff for her kids' school. She had a full-time job. And I just knew she was totally unreliable with everything because she couldn't. She was so committed to all of these things that she just didn't have the capacity to actually be in focus, to be present, to put 100% of herself into her job or any of those volunteer activities. She was almost like just a person that raised her hand, but just sat back and couldn't actually, you know, bring food or help somebody out in an extra sense because she just didn't have time. She had to go to the next thing or the next thing or the next thing.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, because when you're like that, how much are you actually present at the time? So for me, um, every time that I had to do something for packing before, you know, getting ready, and I had commitments that I had for coaching, I wanted to be 100% present for my clients. I wanted to be there, and I had to make a very hard effort to do that. And think of, the movie scenes that we've, or the TV show scenes where we've seen the dad who's on his phone, trying to watch the softball practice or the soccer practice, but he's, not present because there's so many things that are happening. And so not only so you're not fully present, and what kind of a message, I mean, you just said, what kind of an impression were you getting from that? You knew you were not going to get all of that person. And is that fair, not only to you, but to the people that you're overcommitting to, with whatever, however you want to term that? So, and there might be some other ways that this comes out. So you may have there are things that we don't have necessarily control over. Think of the person. My prior life was a nonprofit, which is Jane or jack of all trades. And it was very easy to become overcommitted doing that, because when you're passionate about the organization or the company that you're working for, and you want so much for it to succeed that you will do anything and everything. And I averaged 80 hours a week working for that company. And I loved the people I worked with. I loved everything that I did. And I got married during that time, and we bought a fixer upper house, and I couldn't be present. And when in that 80 hours plus a new spouse, even though we had lived together for 5 years beforehand, and doing work, gutting kitchens and bathrooms and so forth, like, where is there some me time to decompress so that I can be more present in any of those situations? So part of this is self-aware and knowing what is realistic and what really needs time to pass it to a volunteer or ask for help. And because I didn't want to ask Rod, my husband, to help with all of this stuff, because this was a new way of our relationship, and how, like, Who wants to test it that way? So anyway, that's, so we could be overcommitted to one job. It could be um, life happens, right? We've got really good balance that seems to be happening, and a dog gets sick, or a parent needs one-on-one attention for something that they're going through, or a child. Like, you never know, and those things might take a while to get through. So those things can, it's not like you chose it, it just happens.
Those are all good points. And I want to bring up, because we were talking about this earlier, we're reading a habits book right now in our leads group. And I have fallen in the trap before, not this time. I've been very clear about my habit and what I'm going to be doing with it. But I've fallen in the bad habit before of saying, I'm gonna commit myself to this goal, this goal, this goal, this goal, this goal, this goal. And what ends up happening? I don't do any of them because I'm so overwhelmed. So you can overcommit yourself to your own self too, in a way, by saying I'm
Yeah.
gonna do all these things because you don't realize that that's not healthy either. Trying to make healthy changes in your life. It's not always healthy to do a complete overhaul of what's going on. But I even knew, because you're bringing up this um, with the house, and I've been part of that too, the house rehab in a past relationship, and how much we worked on that dang house every single week and weekend. And then it was like we didn't have time for fun very much. And that felt like an overcommitment to me because we didn't take the time for ourselves often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny that we're talking about this because I'm laughing at this now. Ask me in like 3 weeks. So I said to Rod, okay, we've gotten through all of this. We aren't fully, not we're like 90, 85% moved in. There's still tons of boxes in the garage, blah, blah. And I said, Rod, I need to go away for a long weekend. Your birthday's coming up. Let's go away. And he's like, are you kidding? I want to stay at the new house and just like settle in and be comfortable. I'm like, I think the best thing for both of us is to focus on each other. And the only way to do that is to get out of town. Because if we stay here, we're going to go, I have a few minutes. I'm going to go work on that project in the closet or in the bathroom or whatever. I'm really going to put my foot down that we need to go away because of exactly what we're talking about. Like, we have both been overcommitted for, we started this 5 months ago. So it's time for us to just walk away, take a deep breath, and then come back. I even said, let's just go to a baseball game. Let's go down to Denver and see a baseball game.
I love
Something
that.
different.
That's important, though. You're right. It is important. When you're in, a lot of times when people are so overcommitted to things, they don't take that time for themselves. And then what happens to your mental health? What happens to your sleep? What happens to your emotional wellness with your loved one? I know when I'm overwhelmed, stay out of my way, man. I am not a good person to be around because that stress, it just keeps going up and up and up. And you and I have shared so many tools about boundaries, meditation, grounding yourself. When I'm overwhelmed, and I know this about you too, Rebecca, I cannot, with any freaking tool I have, get myself back down. I have to just let go of the stuff that is bothering me, that's on my plate. Because if I don't, then I'm just gonna stay in this constant like, ooh, this anxiety, this stress, this anger, frustration. So if you're a person who is chronically overwhelmed, or overwhelmed, overcommitted, what does that look like for you? How is your mental health? How are your relationships with your family and your friends? Do you feel like you can relax, or are you just sitting on the couch at night, but then still mind going, 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 going? These are all symptoms or signs to look for. And don't forget the forgetfulness because that's obviously one too. When
Sure.
you just can't remember things like you normally can because your brain is just filled up with too many things going on. Is there anything else you can think of for signs? I know we're going to next time talk about side effects and repercussions.
Yeah. So forgetfulness, you mean like leaving your window open?
That's what I'm talking about. Or a ghost being there. I don't know. But
Yeah.
yes, leaving it open. Yeah.
So some things that I've been guilty of, um, or that I've observed in myself have been emotional outbursts. So think of road rage and that, you're yelling at the person that like they can hear you. However, think of that now. Have you ever done that to a coworker, a loved one, where you have that irrational outburst that is totally inappropriate for the setting? However, because you're in a sense out of control, just too much. Someone says, "Can you just take out the trash?" And it has nothing to do with the trash, right? It has everything to do with you've got this capacity in it. That one thing was just putting you over the edge. So irrational outbursts. Sometimes we get these. I don't know about everybody else, but we have physical symptoms, right? So you might get really bad headaches, neck and back pain. I get gut issues. So some of those are your body knocking on the door saying, "Are you aware? Hello, something needs to change." and and drugs aren't it, right? Taking the Advil and the Tylenol and whatever else to help with the pain, all that does is make you aware that you have a problem, but you're not fixing it. So when you get to that point where you're about to pop some Advil or something like that, take a minute to go, okay, I'm going to use this. If you feel like you need to, go ahead and use it just to get you through this hump, and start journaling, writing down like, what do I have on my plate? Why is this happening? So, we're going to go into that into a lot more detail in future segments. Um, but just start being a little bit more self-aware, because if you're treating other people poorly, if you're not fully present, if you're finding the window open, then maybe it's time for some kind of a change. And if you are overcommitted, is there something that you can do to just walk away for a period of time, a weekend, whatever, take a day off, go out for a coffee during the day, something to pull out of the routine so that you can become more aware and get more perspective. Um, I recently, and I may have used this analogy in the past, but I have felt in the past 5 months that I'm in a laundry basket and people keep throwing more dirty laundry on me, right? And it's just more stuff that has to be done. It's not that someone's putting it on my plate. I might be putting it on there myself. I might be pulling the dirty laundry into the hamper, but I can't get out of the hamper in order to get perspective. So if you ever feel that way, try and figure out how to get out of the hamper, out of the box, out of whatever situation you're in so that you can get a better perspective on what you're doing. So this is more like an immediate thing. In future episodes, we're going to talk about more strategic ways to get out of it long term than just today. But sometimes we just need to get through today.
You know, such a it's a great visual because I can totally feel that and see that. For me, recently, I found I was overwhelmed with anger, like absolute rage. And I didn't know where that emotion was coming from. So one night I sat and I journaled everything that was bringing me rage. I had quite a few pages there. But once I looked at it, I realized, oh, okay, some of this is just being overcommitted or feeling like that. Example, you're saying people throwing stuff on me, and it's a specific two specific commitments that I've been involved with. And I was also having panic attacks, pretty bad. And panic attacks are always a sign from your body saying there's something not right. You're not aligned with your path. Something's not working. And I'm aware enough to know that a panic attack is a really bad thing for me, and anger is not my normal state of being. So just the journaling can help you. And you don't have to sit down and say, I'm going to journal about my day. The way that I journaled was, what's making me angry? And I just started writing it all out in big letters, as angry as I wanted to be, scribbling stuff. And it did help me to get to some sort of understanding. If you're in a place of being very overcommitted, it may take you a few iterations of writing things down. And I'll also say, and you know this too, Rebecca, that just because we know we're overcommitted or we have the awareness, that doesn't mean that we know how to get out of the commitments. And that,
Right.
I think, is another topic we can talk about, because just from my own experience, I care more about what those people that I've committed myself to think about me than what they actually care about. Because when I've mulled over a commitment, like a volunteer thing in the past for months and months, agonized over it, finally put my notice in, didn't hear a peep. They did not care one bit that I left. I was just a body in a seat. So, and maybe that's incorrect, but that was my impression. I thought I was going to at least get something and I got nothing. So sometimes you're committed just because you have loyalty or pride, but it's not an actual you have to be there kind of thing.
Right. Well, and I think to your point, part of it is that we don't want to let people down,
Hmm.
but that's us feeling that. And maybe it's having an honest conversation with them and saying, look, I'm getting this sense I've got too much on my plate. I would like to. And that way, it's a more open conversation rather than, deleting their phone number from your phone. Like, not not being that dramatic, but you know what I
Oh,
mean? Like,
yeah.
no, not showing up. Like, it's part of this is owning that you have overcommitted and you have too much on your plate. So you start off with awareness and then it's owning it. Okay, so how did I get to this way? Oh, it's because I absolutely love this organization or these people, or I want to be a coach for my son's soccer team because that shows that I care. Or it's a way to get leads for your business. Like, you have to have clarity on exactly why. And is that truly, as you pointed out from the beginning, is this in alignment with what's important to you and what your goals are and your purpose? Because if you are outside your purpose and you're doing it because you're a people pleaser, then that's the wrong reason.
Yeah.
Because then we get back into what you were just saying. Like, sometimes we're so into people pleasing that we're into making sure that those people get everything that they need and everything that they want when they don't need us. They can be successful and happy and whatever it is that we're throwing at them, they're going to be fine.
Yeah. And I do want to talk more about people pleasing in our next video, or our next topic, because you think you're being a people pleaser by overcommitting, but there's actual repercussions to that. So we'll talk about those examples in the next one.
Yeah, exactly. So, what's the lesson today? Awareness, take a deep breath, take a break. Either it's a weekend off, go out for coffee, journal, meditate, whatever your tool is right now, um, just so that you can be more self-aware. And then we'll help you next session on how to get out of that and make some changes so that you can avoid things like burnout and terrible relationships with family members, because this is our family. Or doing something erratic where you're multitasking while you're driving your car, like you're putting other people at risk. Like, just simplify
Yeah,
and be present.
exactly. Well, okay, this was a great conversation as always. So we'll catch you guys on the next one. Have a good rest of your day.
Take care, everybody.